After her mother died, Ajea was just a small girl, with big eyes and a heart full of dreams. She didn't cry loudly or ask for much. She just wanted someone to love her again. Her father remarried too quickly, and his new wife, Mama Kwale, moved into their quiet home in the peaceful village of Mbara. At first, Ajea tried to smile through the sadness. She would help with chores, bring firewood, and even hum little songs her mother used to sing. But Mama Kwale never smiled back. To Mama Kwale, Ajea was not a child to be loved. She was a shadow, someone else's daughter, a quiet reminder of a woman she would never be. When Ajea spoke, Mama Kwale sighed. When she laughed, Mama Kwale's face grew hard. The villagers often noticed how thin Ajea looked, how her dresses no longer fit, how she stopped playing with the other children. But no one dared question Mama Kwale. She was strong, loud, and always had a clever excuse ready. Still, Ajea didn't complain. She kept her dreams hidden in her heart, dreams of becoming a teacher, of dancing in the festival of drums, of one day being loved like other girls. At night, she would whisper to the stars, hoping maybe her mother could hear her. She missed her voice, her touch, her warmth. In the house where she once felt safe, Ajea had become a ghost, an orphan, not just by fate, but by how the world had chosen to forget her. As Ajea grew older, so did the silent storm brewing inside Mama Kwale. It started with small things, a harsh word here, an extra chore there, but with each passing year, the bitterness in Mama Kwale's heart grew darker, heavier. Ajea, despite the coldness at home, was kind to everyone. She helped the elders, played gently with the younger children, and always greeted people with a quiet smile. The villagers adored her. They would say, "That girl has a heart of gold," and offer her gifts during festivals. But while Ajea received warmth, Mama Kwale's own daughter, Zilani, was often left in the background. She was loud, rough, and always seeking attention. But people didn't look at her the way they looked at Ajea. That cut Mama Kwale deep. It wasn't just jealousy anymore. It was rage. It didn't matter to her that Ajea was kind. All she saw was a girl stealing the light that should have belonged to her own child. At night, Mama Kwale would sit in silence, her eyes burning. She told herself stories, that Ajea was pretending, that she was manipulative, that she didn't deserve the love she got. Her anger twisted into something poisonous. She began to believe that the village only had space for one bright star, and she was determined that it would not be Ajea. She stopped hiding her cruelty. Ajea was beaten for small mistakes, given less food, made to sleep in the kitchen. Still, the girl never raised her voice. She never hated back. That made it worse. To Mama Kwale, Ajea's quiet strength was unbearable. The more the world loved her, the more Mama Kwale wanted her gone. Zilani watched all of it. She didn't understand why her mother was so cruel, but she didn't question it either. She was just happy that, for once, the attention wasn't on her. But deep inside, something felt wrong. Ajea wasn't just a stepsister. She had become part of their lives, part of their story. And yet, every day, she was being erased little by little. What Mama Kwale didn't know was that hatred kept in the shadows doesn't disappear. It grows. And one day, it bursts into light in the most terrifying ways. It was a night no one would forget. The sky heavy with dark clouds. The wind howling through the trees like a warning. Rain had begun to fall in thick, angry drops as the village of Mbara closed their doors and windows. That same night, Mama Kwale walked into the chief's compound, soaked and breathless, saying only 5 words. "Ajea has run away tonight." The villagers were shocked. Some gasped. Others whispered in disbelief. "That sweet girl? She would never leave like that." But Mama Kwale looked them in the eye and said Ajea had taken food and left during the storm. She even showed them a torn piece of the girl's shawl, damp with mud. People nodded slowly, unsure, but no one dared challenge her. Not then. What no one knew, what no one could even imagine, was the truth. Mama Kwale hadn't lost Ajea. She had taken her. While everyone was sheltering from the storm, she had led the trembling girl into the deep part of the Ndogo Fields, far from the homes, far from help. Ajea had asked where they were going. Mama Kwale said she wanted to talk. Ajea followed, barefoot, her hair drenched, her voice small. But when they reached the clearing, Mama Kwale pulled out a small shovel she had hidden beneath her cloak. The ground was soft from the rain. Ajea stood there, confused, until she saw the hole, shallow, fresh. Her eyes widened. She begged. She cried. She promised to leave if that's what Mama Kwale wanted. "Please," she whispered, "I don't want to die." But Mama Kwale didn't stop. Her heart had turned to stone, and as the rain fell harder, she pushed the earth over Ajea's small body. The last thing the girl heard was thunder crashing above her, and the sound of footsteps walking away. By the next morning, the rain had washed away all signs of struggle. The ground looked like any other patch of land. The village believed the lie. They mourned, yes, but they moved on. After all, girls run away sometime, but the earth never forgets, and neither do the spirits of the innocent. 5 long years passed, and life in the village of Mbara moved on, or at least it seemed to. Mama Kwale walked through the markets as if nothing had ever happened. She smiled more, sang to herself, even joined the women during festivals. No one spoke of Ajea anymore. It was like the girl had been erased, her name buried with the whispers. If anyone remembered, they kept their thoughts quiet. Fear has a way of silencing even the loudest hearts. Zilani grew into a young woman. She laughed louder now, danced more often, and tried to enjoy the life her mother worked so hard to give her. But late at night, when she was alone, something heavy still sat in her chest. She would stare at the ceiling and remember Ajea's soft voice, her quiet kindness, the way she never fought back even when she should have. Zilani never asked her mother what really happened. She wasn't sure if she was afraid of the answer or already knew. But while the village stayed silent, the land didn't. Strange things began to happen near the Ndogo Fields. At first, it was just whispers. An old man claimed he saw a flicker of light floating above the soil. A child swore she heard someone calling her name near the trees, though no one was there. Then, more people spoke. Farmers said their animals avoided the area. Some swore they heard crying at night, soft and broken, like a girl buried beneath the earth begging to be found. The elders told everyone not to go near the fields after dark. They said it was just stories, the wind playing tricks. But deep down, even they knew the truth. Mama Kwale never visited that part of the land, not once. And if someone mentioned the fields near her, her face would tighten, her smile would fade, and her hands would tremble just a little. Ajea was gone, but something of her still remained, something that refused to be forgotten. The earth that held her body had begun to speak, and it was only a matter of time before someone truly listened. The Festival of Drums was the brightest night in Mbara. Fires burned high, the air was filled with laughter, and the sound of drums echoed through the hills. People danced with painted faces, children ran with sparklers, and stories were told deep into the night. For a while, the village forgot its worries. Even Mama Kwale danced, her eyes glowing in the firelight, her laugh loud and sharp. No one spoke of the past. No one mentioned Ajea, but the earth had not forgotten. As the drums grew louder and feet stamped the ground in rhythm, a strange sound broke through the music. It wasn't a drum. It was deeper, heavier. The ground near the edge of the Ndogo Fields began to tremble. At first, people thought it was thunder. Then came a cry, a deep, heartbreaking sound, like a voice rising from under the soil itself. The music stopped. The dancers froze. All eyes turned to the fields. More cries followed, a high, echoing wail that chilled every spine. People dropped their drums. Children clung to their mothers. "It's her," someone whispered. "It's Ajea." The chief stepped forward. He didn't ask questions. He pointed to the shaking ground and shouted, "Dig!" Men rushed to the spot with hoes and hands. The ground was soft again, almost too easy to break. As they dug, the cries grew louder, then softer, then silent. Finally, one of the men gasped. He had hit something. The digging stopped. Carefully, they brushed away the dirt, and there she was, Ajea's body, still whole, her face peaceful, untouched by time. In her hand, she held a glowing amulet, warm and humming with light. The village fell into silence. Some dropped to their knees. Others cried openly. No one could explain how her body had not decayed. No one could understand the power in the amulet, but everyone knew one thing in that moment. Ajea had not run away. She had been here all along, waiting to be found. The truth, buried for so long, had finally broken through the earth. And Mama Kwale, she fainted where she stood, not because she was tired, but because she knew the lies were no longer enough. The night Ajea was found, Nothing in Mbara felt normal again. Her body was gently lifted and placed on clean white cloth under a tree near the chief's compound. People gathered in silence, eyes wide, hearts pounding. Her skin was soft, her face peaceful, as if she had just fallen asleep. But everyone knew the truth. No one could sleep that long. This was not natural. This was something else, something sacred, something beyond the living. Then it happened. The amulet in her hand began to glow brighter. It pulsed like a heartbeat, casting a soft golden light on her still fingers. People stepped back. Mothers held their children. Even the chief, a man known for never flinching, looked afraid. Then the voice came, a soft, trembling whisper at first. "She did this to me." The sound didn't come from a mouth. It came from the amulet, clear, echoing. Ajea's voice, gentle, but full of pain. "I begged her. I wanted to live." The crowd gasped. Some screamed. All eyes turned toward Mama Kwale. She didn't speak. She couldn't. Her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed to the ground. People rushed to her, but no one dared touch her for long. Some shouted for the elders. Others cried out in prayer. Chaos broke out. Villagers argued, wept, fell to their knees. Some wanted to destroy the amulet, afraid of its power. Others wanted to protect it, saying it was Ajea's gift, her voice left behind to speak the truth. Zilani stood frozen. Tears ran down her face. She had always suspected something terrible, but hearing Ajea's voice broke something inside her. Guilt, long buried, rose like fire in her chest. As the night went on, the amulet kept glowing, steady and silent now. It had said what it needed to say, but the village would never be the same. Ajea had returned, not in body, but in spirit, and her presence was stronger than death. Her voice, once ignored, had become louder than ever. No one could pretend anymore. The truth was no longer a secret buried in the dirt. It was alive, it was glowing, and it had finally been heard. After the shocking night when Ajea's body was found and her voice echoed from the glowing amulet, the villagers knew they had to act. The amulet was carefully taken to the elders, the wisest and most respected people in Mbara. They gathered in the big meeting hut, their faces serious and heavy with the weight of what they now believed was true. The elders studied the amulet, feeling its strange power, and listened carefully to the voice that seemed to come from nowhere but everywhere. Mama Kwale was summoned. She arrived with her usual proud look, but there was a flicker of fear in her eyes. The elders asked her again and again what happened to Ajea. Each time, Mama Kwale denied it. She told lies, said Ajea had run away, that she didn't know where the girl had gone. Her voice was strong, but her hands trembled. The villagers listened, but no one believed her anymore. Then everything changed when Zilani stood up. Her voice was small at first, but it grew louder with every word. "I saw her do it," Zilani said. The whole room went silent. Eyes turned to Mama Kwale, who looked shocked, then angry, then defeated. Zilani's words broke the walls of silence that had held the truth hidden for so long. Zilani told them how Mama Kwale had taken Ajea to the fields and buried her alive. The pain in Zilani's voice was clear. She had carried this secret inside her for years, and finally, she couldn't keep it anymore. The elders nodded slowly, their faces grim. Justice had to be done. Mama Kwale was sentenced to exile, sent away from the village forever. But the punishment was more than just leaving. She was forbidden from ever touching the soil of Mbara again. The land that had buried Ajea would no longer feel her footsteps. It was a curse, a lifetime of punishment for a terrible crime. As Mama Kwale was led away, the village felt a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that justice was done, but sorrow for the broken family left behind. Zilani stayed behind, tears streaming down her face, knowing that her confession had freed her sister's spirit and condemned her mother. The village of Mbara began to heal, but they would never forget the night truth came out, when the silence was broken and the shadows could no longer hide the darkest secret of all. After Mama Kwale was sent away, the village of Mbara slowly began to find peace. But the memory of Ajea stayed alive, not as a sad story, but as something powerful and hopeful. The villagers decided to build a small shrine right where she had been buried, in the Ndogo Fields. It was simple, but beautiful. A circle of stones, decorated with colourful flowers and cloth, with the glowing amulet placed carefully in the centre. It became a place of quiet peace, where people could come to remember Ajea and feel her presence. Soon, strange and wonderful things began to happen near the shrine. Sick children who had lost hope were brought there by their families. After praying, some of them started to get better. Their coughs disappeared and their fevers broke. Mothers who had been unable to have babies for many years visited the shrine with heavy hearts, and then, after offering their prayers and lighting candles, they would return with news of new life growing inside them. The village whispered that Ajea's spirit was healing and protecting them, that she had become a guardian not just for herself, but for all who were forgotten or hurt. People who once ignored Ajea now bowed their heads in respect when they passed the shrine. They told stories about her kindness, her bravery, and the strength she showed even in the darkest times. The shrine was no longer just a place for sorrow. It was a place of hope, a reminder that love can outshine hate, and that even in death, someone can still make a difference. Women came from other villages too, seeking blessings for their families. Children who felt lost found comfort near the stones. The air around the shrine felt alive, soft with the whispers of a spirit who watched over them all. Ajea's story became a light in the darkness, a reason to believe in justice and kindness. The villagers often said, "Ajea is no longer gone. She walks with us." And in their hearts they knew it was true. Her spirit had risen beyond the pain and cruelty, becoming a guardian for anyone who needed a friend, a protector for the forgotten and the lost. The quiet girl who once seemed invisible was now a shining light that would never fade. Zilani's life changed forever after the truth about her mother and sister came out. The guilt she carried was heavy, like a stone in her chest she could never lift. Every night, she thought of Ajea, the quiet girl who never fought back, who suffered in silence while Mama Kwale's hate grew stronger. Zilani knew she could never erase what had happened, but she wanted to make things right in the only way she could. She chose to stay near the shrine, the place where Ajea's spirit lived on. Day after day, Zilani cared for the stones, cleaned the flowers, and kept the glowing amulets safe. She became the shrine's keeper, telling visitors about her sister's life and strength. People came from far and wide, drawn by stories of healing and hope. Zilani greeted each person with open arms and a steady voice, sharing the story she wished everyone knew. She was buried by hate, Zilani would say, her eyes shining with tears and pride, but remembered through love. She spoke of Ajea's kindness, her courage to stay gentle even when the world was cruel. She told how Ajea's spirit had become a guardian for the forgotten, those who had suffered and been silenced. Through her words, Ajea's story became more than just a tragedy. It became a message of hope, forgiveness, and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Zilani gave up many things, her old friends, her dreams, the chance for a normal life, but she found something more important: purpose. She wanted to honor her sister, to carry her memory so no one in the village would ever forget. And slowly, as she spoke, the villagers began to heal too. The pain in their hearts started to soften. The silence around Ajea's name was broken by stories of courage and light. Sometimes, late at night, Zilani would sit by the shrine alone, feeling the gentle glow of the amulet. She would whisper, "I'm sorry, sister. I will keep your story alive." And in that quiet moment, she felt Ajea's spirit close, stronger, kinder, and free. Zilani's redemption was not just about forgiveness. It was about love that lasts beyond death, about choosing to stand for what is right, even when it hurts. And through her, Ajea's light shone brighter than ever. Every year, on the night when Ajea died, the village of Mbara comes alive in a special way. As the sun sets and the sky turns dark, a soft wind begins to blow through the trees and over the Ndogo Fields. And if you listen closely, you can hear a voice, clear and gentle, singing through the night. It is Ajea's voice, carrying her story on the breeze, reaching the hearts of everyone, near and far. People travel from distant villages to Mbara just to hear that voice. They come with hope, with questions, and with respect for the girl who was buried by hate but remembered through love. Around the shrine, candles flicker and prayers rise. Mothers hold their children close, and elders whisper stories about the brave spirit who refused to be forgotten. Ajea's name is no longer just a name. It has become a legend, a symbol of strength, courage, and the power of truth. Her story is told in songs, around fires, and in the soft voices of those who believe in justice. She did not live to see the world change, but through her spirit, she changed the world anyway. The ground where she was buried speaks now, not with words, but with the light of her spirit shining through the years. It reminds everyone that even in the darkest times, love and truth will find a way to break through. Ajea's voice sings not just for herself, but for all who have been forgotten, all who have been hurt, and all who still dream of hope. In Mbara, on that night, her song is a promise that no matter what happens, some stories never end. They live forever, carried by the wind, whispered by the earth, and held in the hearts of those who remember.